This content is brought to you by BEC Financial Technologies, developing and operating IT for Danish banks.
Great. So I'm going to be talking about how to structure data for Copilot M365. It will be half a technical deep dive in what AI is and half a process deep dive, which is also interesting because how to implement new technology, we do that through process. Let's start with me. My name is Henrik. Find me on LinkedIn there. I'm a workplace specialist at the BEC Denmark location, so I've come a long way to give this presentation. Hope it's worth it for you. I've been in tech for 20 plus years, so I'm a bit of a tech dinosaur, but I've always been the kind of person to look at and embrace new technologies. AI is the latest one. Currently, I have a whole list of titles. It doesn't matter. I do tech stuff. That's about it. So, this is the agenda if anyone cares. I don't have 200 slides. I think I have 21, so we should be in good time. Okay, so let's start with the technical part. Do you all know what an AI actually is? I mean, not just the thing you type into, but what makes it tick. Because that is the thing I find fascinating. So artificial intelligence is a combination of stuff we've had for years, but it's just a very novel way of combining them to make something very cool. So it's basically machine learning, which is the computer's ability to recognize patterns. And then we've added a large language model, which is understanding concepts and words. And then we've added generative AI. You've probably heard that abbreviation a ton of times. We'll dig into what Gen AI actually is because that's also very interesting. What I'm going to be talking about specifically is Copilot for Microsoft 365, which is Microsoft's AI product, if you can say it so, which is basically an AI, all the stuff we discussed, and then it is combined with access to the core Microsoft data, the stuff we find in all your Office programs, the stuff we find in OneDrive, the stuff we find in Microsoft Dataverse, and on SharePoint. So it gives us an unparalleled access to corporate data without giving all our corporate data to OpenAI, for example. Huge fan of not giving our corporate data to OpenAI. So, let's start looking at the large language model. This is the human language model. That's me. I'm thinking about an object, a chili fruit. So, an object has different concepts associated with it. For example, when I think about a chili, I think about it has capsaicin, it hurts the tongue. It's used in culinary arts. It is related to culture heritage for certain cultures. Okay, this is pretty simple, yeah? This is the AI model. You can see it has a few more associations than I do. But what if we ask it to expand on its associations? Well, we get a little more. What if we ask it to expand again? Ooh. The interesting thing is that throughout all these associations to the object of a chili, when we drill down deep enough, we start to see associations. So we see the interconnectedness of all these different concepts. That is the power of the large language model because it understands how things are associated. I'll dig into a data set in a moment. See? I found a very small data set. It's only, I think, 44,000 lines. This is for math. This makes your AI understand math. So 44,302 lines, I think, and then your AI understands math. It can do math for you. Yes, AI is not good at math currently. We're still working on that data set. And as I don't mean BC, I mean the AI tech nerds. So, oh, and I forgot to mention, in the data set for example, OpenAI's LLM, ChatGPT 4o, it has 3 trillion objects. 3 trillion. That's a lot of zeros. So now we're going to talk about generative AI. Generative AI is the act of a computer generating text. Computers have been able to do this forever, but this time they generate relevant and sometimes factual text. So the example here is This is a banana. This is a generative AI writing this. So the way it looks at this is it looks at its LLM, its data set, and it says, what is the probability of the next word being yellow? It's pretty high, yes. What is the probability of the next word being black? Pretty low, although I have seen black bananas. So there's that. And then once it has decided that the next word is going to be yellow, then it goes like, okay, so what's the next word going to be? Then it looks at, it could be fruit, it could be berry. And the way it does this is it analyzes all the texts it has read that are in the data set, and then it says, in every text I've read, usually the word fruit comes after yellow if it comes after banana. To be fair, in some of the text it will be berry, as a banana is both a fruit and a berry. But this is interesting because where's the creativity in this? If you look at it with a statistical mind, will it not always generate the same text? Because the beauty of humans is we don't give a shit about this. We don't give a shit about what normally comes after this word, because we have something we want to communicate. Then we, of course, adhere to the rules of how words are placed, so it's not just a jumble, but we don't always use the same formula. It's because we are random, we are good. That's something else. So, I had to present a business case because we as a company were looking at, okay, so this Copilot M365, it's pretty cool, but Microsoft just says, implement it and everything will be good. In my experience, that has never been true. You never just implement a tool and then everything's cool. But the vendors will always say that. So the business case we're looking at is, it costs $30 per user per month. That is around 116 Swati, I think. Then I use some secret BEC math to figure out I need to give 15 minutes per user per month of efficiency gain for this to make sense. So the question is, how do we do that? Because I can't just buy the product and then everything's good, because that's not how it works. So we decided to look at different use cases, like how can AI support our business? And we actually found a ton of them. We're not ready to do automation yet. We will be at some point, because AI can support automation in a way like never before, where a user who does not understand code can tap into the AI. I want to move this document here and do a statistical analysis of the data in the document. Boom, boom, document moved, here is your report. Because the thing is, current automation tools, you have to have someone who knows code to use, for example, Power BI to create a button that does the report. And AI is going to help putting heavy coding into the hands of every person, which is really cool, because even though you don't understand the code itself, as long as you can formulate what you want to happen, then it can happen. We're not there yet on AI, but it's nice to look at the future. But we are going to focus on OmniSearch, because that's an interesting use case. So what I basically wanted, and what my argument was, is I hate having to search 6 different sites, a Teams chat, my mailbox, and ask 3 colleagues to find some piece of information that I need. So I want information to be available in one OmniChat. I want to ask one place, and I want to get everything known about BEC. Somewhere down the line, I would also like it to draw conclusions on these data, but that's not now. We start with what we can do, and then we worry about other stuff at other times. So, OmniSearch. The first thing I realized was, I'm fucked. I am well and proper fucked if I want to implement this. So I broke it down into, what are we looking at here? Okay, we have 1,700 users. We have management, we have techs, we have product owners. We even have administrative staff. So I have to find a way to help these people learn and know, how can you use this OmniSearch? How does it make your day easier? Because one thing is I can teach them how to use it, but I can't force them to use it. So it has to come from seeing the value of the product. Our data, that made me even sadder. So we have a ton of data conflicts. We have lack of data. We have lack of access or abundance of access, even worse. And our data is highly unstructured. And as Paul said, we've been here since 1964, and data discipline has never been a strong, discipline. So our data set looks the way it does now because we have built it, and then we've built on top of that, and on top of that, and on top of that, and on top of that. And the sources are sources that have changed over time. Like OneDrive is new, so we've ported a lot of old data from different shares over to OneDrive, and we have migrated websites several times to end up at SharePoint. So there is a lot of incongruency in our data. But again, I focused on the stuff I can actually fix. So look at these people, because they require talking to. That is something that I pride myself in being very good at. So how do we do that? I've added a few screenshots that have become very blurry. But the thing is, we decided to take a very direct approach. So we hosted webinars. We are hosting knowledge-based videos like Quick and Easies on our learning platform, which is currently Udemy. So this actually took care of them because we want the users to learn how to use the technology, then adopt to it. Because one thing is you know how to use it, that's great. We want you to adopt it. We want you to use it every day for menial tasks because there is time to be saved no matter what you're doing. And if you have a really good process for doing a task fast, that's great. But if you don't have a process for the task and you're wondering, how can I optimize this? That's where you want to use the product. And then we want to teach the users to go do something. Doesn't matter what you do, just do something, try it out. See how it makes your department better. And once you've done that, share it with the rest of your department. Because an important part of this implementation was going to be emerging strategies. So we want people to use it and find out, hey, this is cool. So share it with your mate. Share it on our internal social platforms. Share it wherever you want. Just share it with someone, because then someone else can build on top of that, and someone else can build on top of that. And then I won't have to do anything because the value will deliver itself, in theory. So good. Our data. This is just focusing on data from the last year. We have 1,200 news posts. We have 1,100, I think it is, 1,100 documents, and infinite documents on OneDrive and Teams. And this will make you cringe if you're a data nerd. The data is not tagged, it's not ordered, it's not organized, it's not labeled for read ignore by Copilot, and it has conflicting data. Imagine my day when I did the research. It was fun, real fun. But it seems bad, right? It's really not. Because these are the issues we're facing. I seem to remember the wise words of a physicist who lived a couple of years ago. Know that guy? He said something that is very relevant to AI. Order is needed by the ignorant, but it takes a genius to master chaos. It turns out Copilot is a genius because, let's see, still an issue, still an issue. Oh, wait, Copilot does not care if it's not ordered, because Copilot generates an index of all data it knows, and the index also contains reference material, or what would in human speech be index of context of documents, which is really interesting. I'll just move so you can see. So a lot of the issues are actually facing were not issues. But to be fair, we still have a lot of pretty big issues because the documents are not tagged. But as Copilot knows the entirety of the contents of a document, it doesn't actually need to be tagged. Because, for example, if you have a blog, you will want to tag your documents for searchability. But when you have an internal database that contains all of your document, then you don't need a tag, because you'll find it just as fast, because this is just technology doing your work for you. So, an example of this. How do I order sandwiches for a meeting? That was a genuine question I had because I didn't remember the process and I had to click somewhere in Outlook and who knows. So this is the direct prompt I used. We do not have a document that says sandwich anywhere. But the interesting thing is, Copilot infers that by sandwich, in the context of a meeting, it really means that I'm looking for catering. So it gives me the meeting catering process, I think is the word. And honestly, neither I or Copilot cares about where the location is because it's just some bullshit, non-searchable location. But it didn't matter. And that's the point. So, I structured the issues we have left. We have to tag documents manually, not for the AI, but for ourselves. Because at some point down the line, we're going to want to create a better data structure. And again, not for the AI, because as demonstrated, it does not care. But for us humans, we do like a bit of structure, or at least some of us do. Some of us thrive in chaos. But the point being that if you are a data scientist and you're hired to order the data, it would be nice if it just had some semblance of structure to begin with, right? So you didn't have to read inane processes for a sandwich ordering and figure out where it goes in the labels. Good. We also have the labels. Labels are very important because in a company that has to do with financial technology, we work with a lot of different sensitivities. We have some data that is not allowed to be shared except for a very small part of BEC. For example, we work with highly sensitive data, which is, as you will probably know it, GDPR data. We need to keep tabs on that because the fines are astronomical if you lose it. And the personal repercussions, if we lose someone's GDPR data, like your data, I wouldn't be fun, no? Your entitled social security number, your financial history, your medical history, whatever we have of data. We don't have your medical history, but we could have. So we're going to need to implement labels. That, thankfully, is not in my hands. But I did manage to start up a project to label all our millions of documents. Not millions, hundreds of thousands of documents. And that is going to be a slow-going process because while we can auto-label it, we can't auto-label it all the way. So someone still has to verify. But the good thing is that the only thing we know about our documents with certainty is who owns it. So can you guess who's going to get that task? That's right, the document owner, not me. But the point is, we still need humans. Because the AI can't do this. Because it'll look at the data and it'll go like, I think this might be sensitive. And then a human still has to verify. Because while we have good models for finding GDPR data, we don't have models that are good enough. And the problem is if just one document that contains sensitive data is not labeled, is used by the AI, inadvertently shared to a third party, that is not fun. We have an entity in Denmark called the FSA, which is the people who oversee financial industries. They don't understand we're sorry. That makes them very angry for some reason. So we need to keep our data safe and our customers' data safe, because if not, they just go like, oh, that's fun. You can't operate on the Danish financial market anymore. And that is within their power, because everything is licensed. And then we would have to shut down both this lovely location and our Denmark location, which again make me very sad because then I have to find a new job. So, any questions? I take that as a no. Well, good, because I brought some questions. So, I have 2 questions for you. And remember, there are no stupid questions, only stupid answers. And I can guarantee you I'll give stupid answers if you ask something that is outside of my zone of knowledge. So, feel free, try to knock me over. Why is data science important for AI? Does anyone have any input to this? What is it that AI needs that data science delivers to us? Feel free to input.
So it needs correct data. So we could do that on the...
That is one part of it, yes. We need correct data. And the other thing we need is structured data sets. I spent the better part of yesterday looking at datasets because I am, for fun, building my own AI. It is for use for something outside of BEC, so it won't handle financial data, so I have a lot more freedom. Turns out the smallest dataset I could find was 25,000 lines. The biggest I could find was well over 3 trillion. That dataset takes up a lot of space, and it's very slow to run. So I have another question. How do you think the data science will change with the advent of AI? This is interesting. How will it change the art and craft of data science? What will AI make easier, make harder, eliminate work for? How will AI change that landscape? Because we've seen it change many different things. I saw an interesting test case where someone is building a therapist AI. So an AI that has a data set that understands mental well-being, and that can be, you don't have to book an appointment 3 weeks in advance, you don't have to, all this. You just go and talk to this AI if you have some feelings that you need help to process. That's an interesting use case, and that is an industry that is going to be severely changed. I know that psychologists are always whining about the fact that psychologists' wages or the amount of money they can charge per hour has gone downwards in a steep slope since the mid-'80s. And why is that? Because we keep training more psychologists. And psychologists live a long time for some reason. It's like they control their mental health, so they actually know how to live longer. But anyone have a bid to how data science, a discipline that should interest you, will change with the advent of AI? Synthetic data is a good bid. Can you say a little bit more? Because creating a data set from nothing is interesting, and especially if I will turn it around and create an example for you. So we work with sensitive data, yeah? So if I have a test system, for example, in a third-party vendor, and I want to test out this system, so I don't have all the necessary legal agreements and all that with the vendor, I just want to test if his system can handle the volume of data we have. If I can create a synthetic data set that mimics the look and feel of our data, but is not sensitive data, normally we would scramble it, but scrambling data gives, for example, odd names. One of the issues we see with datasets is that a name is too long or too short or contains, in Denmark, weird characters. We have 3 of those, and no system ever developed outside of Denmark is ready for those goddamn 3 characters. It's the O/, the A bun, and the AE. So having a dataset that mimics and looks like our actual dataset and is not just scrambled would actually be pretty cool. And normally we would have someone make that, and that involves creating a very stringent set of rules for what character is replaced with what character. But that also makes sure that when the testers look at this data in the system, it just looks garbled. In some cases, it breaks the UI. In some cases, it just looks weird. What you want is your end user tester. You want them out there in front of a machine that looks real. So if they get a name in the system they're testing that is that will probably not feel as real. And then you'll get worse test results. So I think I'm ending a little before time. I had hoped for more input, but that's fine. I'm okay with doing most of the talking. So I would like to thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Henrik.